Welcome back, everyone. So in today's video, we are going to initiate coverage on Apple stock, ticker symbol AAPL. They trade on the NASDAQ exchange, and their current price is $223.45. Alright guys, so check it out. In the almost seemingly perfect world that Apple's been living in for the past few years, just a little bit of negative news, or just a little bit of news with a negative undertone, really seems to feel like much more than it actually is. I've noticed that here lately about Apple, okay? The richest company in the world, the first company to hit the $1 trillion market cap, like I said, probably the most impressive company. Fundamentally, you know, here's the thing. Apple is the golden child of Wall Street, has been for 5 or 6 years now, okay? Apple is the go-to stock in Wall Street. You know, strong buy stock that everybody just can't seem to get enough of. Of course, Donald Trump has mentioned about these last round of tariffs, that $200 billion worth of Apple goods are going to have trade tariffs put on them. And then he encouraged the executives at Apple to start considering building manufacturing here in the United States as opposed to China. And you know, that right there to me is something that could potentially hurt Apple. That is something that could certainly affect their pricing strategy over the course of time, and it could hurt the stock price as well. Of course, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but if Apple has to adjust their pricing strategy, you know, that, like I said, that can affect sales, which ultimately can affect the bottom line and the stock price, okay? So back on the 12th, 2 days ago, Apple had their most recent event, and it kind of got met with kind of mixed reviews, okay? So a lot of people are feeling that the pricing is getting out of control, which that's kind of been the overall judgment over the past couple of years, is that Apple is pricing their products up a lot higher as time goes on. And of course, no one's ever going to like that, you know. Also, another thing too, guys, was that didn't seem like there was a whole lot of innovation and nothing really game-changing coming out with this Apple event. Just kind of more of the same stuff that we already have and love. So Apple devices are already available for pre-order, and they are already selling out. So I've seen reports about the Apple Watch already being sold out, and the new phones. So you know, to me, I kind of anticipated that. I always anticipate that at the end of every Apple event, is that, you know, pre-order sales are going to go through the roof. The demand is so high. You know, Apple has a very unique problem with their phones, and this even goes back to their iPhone 10 and iPhone 8 strategy, where they launched the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10 in the same event. It was just simply that Apple can simply not make enough phones to meet the demand of the public. So like I said, I kind of feel the same way about this recent Apple event. Like I said, nothing that I'm really seeing that's game-changing, nothing huge, but more of the same stuff that we already love. So anyone that has followed my channel for a while, or attends any of our live chats, they know that I've been invested in Apple for a little over 5 years. So I got into my IRA brokerage before I started working on this video to see, kind of remind myself what my original buy-in price was on Apple stock in 2013. So take a guess, guys. If you can guess, or if you'd like to guess at the price that I bought in Apple, drop it down in the comment section. I would love to. I'd love to hear some guesses. I bet you can get pretty close. But anyways, here we go. We're going to take a look at the fundamentals, and guys, this company, Apple, it's absolutely fundamentally flawless, okay? If there is such thing as a perfect stock, it has to be Apple. We're going to start right up here, some of these valuation metrics. So obviously they have the $1.08 trillion market cap, the first $1 trillion company in the history of the stock market. And you know, the only company close is Amazon right now. Okay, the PE ratios, Apple has always been well known for keeping their PE ratios low. You know, they don't want them PE ratios up real high because that does scare value investors away. And Apple has always done really good keeping their PE ratios nice and low. And let's scale down here a little bit. So in 52 weeks, we've had a low of 149.16 and a high of 229.67. There's been about a 41% growth this year. We move down here to the profitability. Okay, so on a profit margin, operating margin basis, they're both up over 20%. And this is the 26% operating margin. That's very impressive. Of course, the management effectiveness, the return on assets, 12.22. This one here is by far the most impressive. The return on equity, 45.37%. So absolutely phenomenal across the board right through there so far. We'll jump right over here to the short percent of float and the short percent of shares outstanding. I made a video yesterday explaining the importance of these metrics if you want to go back and watch that. But again, nobody shorts Apple stock. It's less than 1%. Nobody in their right mind ever shorts Apple stock. I know quite a few people who posted in stock trading groups on Facebook that they were shorting Apple when it hit 205 and 210, and sadly enough, they got burned. And I don't understand why anybody would short Apple, but as you can see, the odds are not in their favor at all. Okay, Apple does pay a dividend. Okay, I guess if there's one thing we can kind of pick at Apple about, is that their dividend could pay out a lot higher. So you know, a lot of investors say Apple has so much cash on hand and so much money that they should pay out a much higher dividend. However, you're going to get it all back and more with the growth of the stock. So I always look at the dividend as just, I have a good friend that told me that the dividends you collect from Apple are to pay for all the crappy chargers they make. And that's pretty funny. So moving down here, I want to look at the balance sheet and the cash flow statement. So Apple has about $70 billion of total cash and about $114 billion of total debt. It's a very healthy ratio. You know, their debt to equity ratio is very manageable. So I would have no worries really buying Apple stock. And let's say we faced a recession or a major stock market pullback, I could sleep very comfortably at night knowing that you know, Apple will be very safe. And down here, guys, the cash flow statement. So 73.03 billion operating cash flow and 41.44 billion levered free cash flow. That's ridiculous. Most companies aren't even that big. Most companies at a completely scaled out market cap level aren't even as valuable as Apple's operating cash flow or their levered free cash flow. So it's astronomical when you sit here and think about how ridiculously strong and wealthy this company is. So I've got the 1 year chart pulled up on Apple, guys, and it's been steady growth for about a year now. Very steady. Of course, they've taken a few small dips like all stocks do over the course of time, but they've pretty much held their $150, $160, $160 per share level most all year. And then until here recently, after the last earnings report where they run up over $200, that's when they hit the $1 trillion market cap, and then they've actually gotten up as high as $229. Let's take a look at the 5 year chart. If you go back to 2016, okay, 2016 when Apple hit 90-something dollars a share, that's when Warren Buffett made a huge investment in Apple. And actually, as a matter of fact, I believe Warren Buffett is still adding to his position in Apple. But if you can use that as a judgment in, or a tool or a device, some kind of training mechanism to you know, approach and try to understand some of Warren Buffett's investing wisdom, This right here, guys, in the $90 dip here a couple of years ago, this is right where Warren Buffett made a big investment in Apple. And as you can see, it has just run nonstop pretty much ever since then. He's got, I don't know how much, probably I would say about somewhere in the ballpark of 170, maybe 150, 160% return on his position. So I was invested in Apple way back here in 2013, and I've added twice over the course of time. But that right there, guys, that was some of the most brilliant, one of the most brilliant investment moves I can remember in recent history was Warren Buffett's big buy into Apple. So I am really struggling to find anything negative about Apple. I pulled up their earnings. You know, their earnings are always good. Pretty much anybody knows who follows Apple, they're an earnings beast. So they've back here in Q3 2017, they were estimated to 1.87 on the top line, actually beat by $2.07. Then in Q4 2017, they had a huge guidance up increase and a small beat. Then it kind of, like I said, it trended down just a little bit for 2 quarters. Okay, so but this last one here, guys, this is the one I really want to focus on. So back here in Q2 of 2018, the last report that just come out, so they beat on the top and bottom line so impressively, and then the guidance got raised to estimate of $2.76, and that's when you've seen the Apple stock run well over 200 and run into the 220s. So you know, like I said, when I'm doing this stock analysis video on Apple, the problem I'm having is trying to find anything negative fundamentally, or you know, anything I can really point at outside of a couple small news articles to you know, warn investors. Yeah, there's just in my opinion, like I said, it's the gold standard of the stock market, and you're just not going to find a better investment. So lastly, guys, I just want to cover this, and I kind of agree with this right here, just on the sentiment, just kind of like I said, you know, off the technical charting and off of the like the price movement that Apple has already got. So they're actually rated, their average analyst rating is a moderate buy with a $229 price target. They have a high price target of $300 and a low of $185. And we can scroll down here, and pretty much everybody on planet Earth has Apple rated as a buy. Obviously there's a couple in here that have hold ratings, and over here to the right you have quite a few price targets. And you know, some of these, like some of these investment firms and banks, need to update their price target on Apple because it's already surpassed a few of these. Like right here at 205, okay, we're well past 205, moving north of 220. You know, like I mentioned at the start of my video, Apple is, like I said, it is the go-to investment on Wall Street. If you walk into pretty much any bank, you talk to any financial advisor, you talk to anybody who understands the stock market, you talk to, you know, even if you just call your broker and say, hey, suggest me a stock to buy, I guarantee you Apple is going to be the most highly recommended, like I said, go-to stock pretty much on the planet, you know. And if you don't have Apple stock in your portfolio, you know, what are you waiting on? That's my question. You know, what are you waiting on? There is really nothing I can point to, nothing that would make me think that Apple is not still a screaming hot buy. So let's do a quick recap. Even considering the repercussions of the tariffs that Trump has mentioned about going towards Apple and their sales, and even with the, like I said, kind of mediocre reaction to the last Apple event, I am still incredibly bullish, and I don't consider those big enough catalysts to really slow Apple's growth down. Like I said, I'm looking at all these pre-orders and looking at these articles that are coming out every day, checking up on that, and everything is already selling out again. Okay, even with the dramatic price increase, Apple products are still so highly in demand, they cannot keep enough stuff made to meet demand. It's a little ridiculous. So I'm giving Apple stock a strong buy rating, and I'm giving them a $300 one-year price target. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that like button. Drop me a comment. Tell me what you think about Apple stock and if you're invested in it. And guys, have an awesome day.